All right, so yesterday we started our kind of a review, reteach thing of solving linear equations, and we did two-step equations. And today we're going to do multi-step equations. So these are going to have 4 or 5 steps to them. So I need to reiterate how very, very important it is that you show every single step in your work. If you're at home doing this, you need to do it on Kami app so that you can write on it, or you need to print it and do it on a paper or whatever. And if you are an in-school learner, then it's easy to do it by hand because then you have a pencil. So I'm gonna go through a couple of these with you. I'm gonna do 3 just that I'm doing, and then I'm gonna do 2 off of the assignment. Okay. So the first one we're going to do is going to be a long one, and that's okay because there's going to be a couple of steps to these, and we can go through these steps. We have 7x plus 8 times the quantity x plus 1/4 equals 3 times 6x minus 9 minus 8. So I'm looking at this and oh my gosh, there's so many numbers. Like, where do I even start? Order of operations tells us where to start. Order of operations says you start with the parentheses. Well, is there anything in these parentheses that I can simplify? And there is not. But I am going to get rid of the parentheses by multiplying the stuff on the outside through. And I might look at this and go, there is a fraction. I'm going to multiply everything by 4 to get rid of the fraction. And I could. I totally could. I could do that right now. But I'm going to hold up a minute and just kind of see what happens when I multiply this 8 through. If I still have a yucky fraction after I've multiplied that 8 through, then I'll get rid of the fraction because I don't really want to deal with fractions. But probably I'm not going to have to do that. So this 7x is not involved in the parentheses. So it's going to come down and it's just going to chill over here, and it's not going to do anything. But I've got to multiply this 8 through, and I've got to distribute it through both things. So 8 times x, and then 8 times 1/4. So 8 times x is 8x. That one's easy enough. So 8 times 1/4 is the same as 8 over 1 times 1/4. So that's 8 divided by 4, 8/4. 8/4 is just 8 divided by 4, which is 2. See why I didn't want to multiply that 1/4 out of there? Because I'm just left with 2. And I could have multiplied everything by 4, but then I'd have really big numbers that I'm dealing with. And I'd really much rather just deal with the number 2. The number 2 is happy. So I've multiplied by everything. I'm done on this side of the equal sign. Sweet. Now I've got to multiply this 3 through those parentheses. So 3 times 6x and then 3 times minus 9. It's important. I've got to carry that negative through. So 3 times 6x is 18x. And 3 times negative 9 is negative 27. Okay. And then we've got this negative 8, and it's not really participating in anything. It's just like the 7x over here, and it's just coming down for the ride. Okay. So now I need to combine like terms on both sides of the equal sign. So let's see, what do I have over here? I have a 7x, I have an 8x, and I have a 2. So I've got to combine these like terms. So I have 7x plus 8x. They can totally combine and be 15x. 2 doesn't look like it has any friends to combine with, so it's just going to stay 2. Poor sweet little 2. Doesn't have any friends yet, but we'll get it some friends. So I have 18x, and I have negative 27, and I have negative 8. So the 18x does not look like it has any friends over here, so we're just going to bring this 18x on down without combining it with anything. And then I have negative 27 minus 8. So it's like I'm 27 below 0, and it gets 8 degrees colder, and holy crap, it's cold. And school would totally be canceled. And we don't want to think about this. So 27, negative 27 minus 8, it's the same thing as 27 plus 8 because with the negatives. So 27 plus 8 is 35. So negative 27 minus 8 is negative 35. Okay. So now I'm looking at this, and I know I need to get x's on one side. I need to get numbers on the other side, and I'm looking at this. I'm like, is there any one of these that's better to go on which side, and which side do I want it to go on? And I look at this, and the 18 is positive, and the 15 is positive, and the 18 is bigger than the 15, and so if I subtract 15 from 18, I end up with a positive number, and it's been my experience that students like to deal with positive numbers. So I'm going to get this x over here. It doesn't matter. I'll get the same answer either way, but I won't be dealing with as many negatives. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to subtract 15x from both sides. If we look, this 15 has nothing in front of it. That means it's positive. It means it's added. So to get rid of it, we subtract it away. Minus 15x. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other or else it's not equal. So this 2 just comes down, still just chilling. Equals, let's see, 18x minus 15x. 18 minus 15 is 3. So if I have 18x's and I subtract 15x's, I'm going to end up with 3x's. And then the negative 35, we didn't do anything with it, so we're just going to still keep subtracting this 35. Now, I want to get this 35 away from this x term. So I really want to get this x alone, and I'd really like to get this 3 away, but first I've got to get this 35 away. So I'm going to add 35 to both sides, plus 35. Okay. So I'm going to end up with these 35s go away. So I end up, oh, that's a funky equal sign. I'm gonna fix that a little bit. Okay. So I have my equal sign, and on this side I have 2 plus 35 is 37. I can do that. And then I have this equals 3x. Okay. So now I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, I've got a 3 times an x. What's the opposite of multiplication? Because 3 times x, I need to do the opposite. Here it was subtracted. The opposite of subtraction is addition. So I added. Here it's multiplied. The opposite of multiplication is division. So if I want to undo multiplication, I undo it with division. Okay. So we get x equals, now what if you're saying to yourself, Mrs. Barlow, I do not know what 37 divided by 3 is. That's okay. I let you use your calculator. 37 divided by 3 is just 12.33. And it's fine with that. I'm fine with that. Or if you want to say 12 1/3, or if you want to say 37 thirds, I don't even care. Okay. So there we have it. 12.33 equals x. Let's do another couple of different kinds, because there's a couple different kinds of these, and I want you to see all the different kinds. We're going to start with some that are already in fraction form. So you're going to have 6x plus 1 over 3 equals 9 minus x over 7. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of these fractions. I don't want to deal with these fractions, okay? So remember, a fraction is just a fancy division problem. So we have 6x plus 1 divided by 3. Well, over here we had 3 times x. The opposite of multiplication is division. Well, the opposite of division is multiplication. So if I want to get rid of that 3, I've got to multiply both sides by 3. And what happens is these 3's cancel because they become 1. But I also have a 7 over here that I need to deal with. And this 3 and this 7 are not going to cancel each other out. But in this same step, I'm going to do 2 steps in one. I'm going to multiply both sides by 7 times 7. So these 7's cancel out. So I have 7 times all of this. And I have 3 times all of this. So I'm going to just write this out and make it a little bit prettier. 7 times 6x plus 1 equals 9 minus x times 3. Now, could I have written the 3 in front like the 7's in front? Sure, it doesn't matter what order it goes in because it's multiplication. I just wrote it this way because that's the way it's written up here, and it works. So 7 times 6x and then 7 times 1. 7 times plus 1. So 7 times 6x is 42x. I've got a plus 1 here, and that plus is important. So 7 times plus 1 is plus 7, okay? And then 3 times 9 is 27. And 3 times minus x is minus 3x. The sign that's in front of it is important. It needs to be carried down. Unless we've got a different sign here and then they flip-flop. Okay. So I don't, like over here after this step, I had a bunch of like terms that I needed to combine, but I don't have any of that over here. I just have 42x plus 7, and then I have 27x minus 3x. And so I don't really have a lot of combining that I need to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and start getting my x's over there. So I've got a negative 3x over here. I don't really want to deal with negatives, so I'm going to add 3x. Because the opposite of subtraction is addition. I'm going to add 3x. So 42 plus 3 is, oh, not 3. I can do math. 42 plus 3 is 45x plus 7 equals 27. These guys went away. So I've got a plus 7 here. The opposite of plus 7 is minus 7. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. So I have 45x equals 20. So now I'm just going to, I have a 45 times x. The opposite of multiplication is division. Got to get rid of it. So divide by 45, divide by 45. And x is 20 divided by 45, which I'm going to let you use a calculator. 20 divided by 45 is 0.444. X equals 0. I'm going to go ahead and round that to just 0.44. It goes on to infinity, but I don't need to express that. Okay, I'm going to move. Oh, that was bad. I just lost my screen. So I'm going to, there we go. It's back. Except now that I lost my, I'm going to stop sharing and then start sharing again just to get all my screens back that I want. There we go. I am going to move this over here. That's what I was trying to do in the first place. All right, so the last one we're going to do is we're going to do one like this. We're going to have 3 times 6 plus 8. Oh, 6x plus 8. Excuse me. Oh, there's a plus sign. It would help if I wrote these correctly. Equals 24 plus 18x. Okay, so let's look at this. There are any-like terms inside these parentheses. So my first step is going to be to just get rid of these parentheses. So I have 3 times 6x plus 3 times, and then 3 times plus 8. So 3 times 6x is 18x. 3 times plus 8 is plus 24. Equals 24 plus 18x. Okay. Now let's get the numbers together, or we could get the variables together. Let's subtract 18x. That was a funky 8. I apologize for that. Subtract 18x. They both go away from both sides, and I end up with 24 equals 24. Well, does 24 equal 24? Yeah, always. Does it matter what x is? Will 24 equal 24? Always. So how many solutions does this have? This has infinitely many solutions. Are some of these going to have infinitely many solutions? Yes. Are some of them going to have no solutions? Yes. It's kind of life sometimes. So this one has infinitely many solutions. Let's go ahead and hop over. And I want to do a couple from your assignment. Okay, let's wait for that to go away. And we are right there. Okay, so more practice with multi-step linear equations. It's the same thing as yesterday, where if you do not show your work, you do not get credit. I do have an answer key with the odds on it, just like I did before. If you don't show your work, you don't get credit. Okay, so order of operations. We're looking at this and we're like, oh my gosh, there is so much. And is there a lot? There is a lot. There's a couple of steps to these, and they're a little bit challenging, and that's okay. We can do challenging, and we can do a couple of steps. So order of operations has to start with the parentheses. We're going to start with the parentheses. There's nothing inside the parentheses we need to really pay attention to, but there is stuff on the outside of the parentheses. Now, when we have like 2 times parentheses, we distribute the 2 through and we multiply the 2 through. Here on both of these, we just have a negative in front of the parentheses. That's like having a -1 in front, and it's going to be multiplying everything in the parentheses by a -1. Now, this 20 is not affected by that, so it just comes down for the ride. Okay, so -1 times 3x is -3x. -1 times -9 is +9. Now, we've got this -2. And you might want to say, okay, I've got this negative and I'm multiplying it by everything. So it needs to be negative times a negative is a positive. But this 2 is not in the parentheses. This negative only affects the things in the parentheses. So the -2 stays a -2. Equals, so same thing over here. Negative times a -11 is a +11x. And then a negative times this +1 is a -1. Okay. Whew. That's the first step. And honestly, I think that's the hardest step. I think it gets a lot easier from here on out. But that's just me. So let's look at this. We have a lot of alike terms that we could be combining over here. There's only one x term, and that's this -3x. But we've got a lot of numbers. We have 20 plus 9 is 29. Minus 2 is 27. So I have 27 minus 3x. Can I do that? Can I combine them all like that? Yeah, totally. That's what you should do. Equals, there are no like terms over here to combine, so we're just going to do this 11x minus 1. Okay, so if I look, this -3x is already negative. If I subtract this 11, it's going to be more negative. So it would make sense for me to bring this 3x over here. If you want to bring the 11x over here, the answer is going to be the same. You're just going to have more negatives to deal with. So I'm going to add 3x to both sides, because remember, if I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other. Addition is the opposite of subtraction. This 3x is subtracted, so we're adding it. So I have 27 it's supposed to be 27. 27 equals, let's see, 11 plus 3 is 14. So 14x minus 1. Got to get this -1 away from the x. We can't have them together. So the opposite of subtraction is addition. So I'm going to add to both sides. So I get 28 equals 14x. And I'm running out of room, so I'm going to rewrite this up here. 28 equals 14x. I'm going to divide both sides by 14 because the 14 is multiplied by the x. And the opposite of multiplication is division. So to get them to go away, I divide by 14. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other. And I get 2 equals x. And I am done. That one had a lot of steps. And there were a lot of negatives. And there's a lot of room for mistakes. That's why I'm giving you guys the answers to the odd numbers so that you can double check yourselves. But you have to show every step so that I know you're not just taking my answers and writing them down, right? Not that you guys would ever do that. No cheaters in my group. So I've got some fractions, and I don't want fractions, and I want to not have fractions. So the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by the denominators, but I'm only going to watch what I can do. So if I multiply this one times 4, obviously those 4s are going to cancel. But if I multiply this one times 4, guys, 4 is a multiple of 2, and it'll actually make that 2 go to 1, and the 4 goes to a 2. So I don't have to multiply both sides by 2. I just have to multiply both sides by 4. That was really nice how that worked out, and it doesn't usually work out that way, but we're going to take it. So this 4 canceled with that 4, so we're just left with -x minus 2 equals, this 4 turned into a 2, so I still have to deal with this. So I have 2 times 3x is 6x. And I have 2 times 6 is 12. So it's 6x plus 12. Okay. So I'm going to have negatives no matter what I do here. But I'm going to go ahead and I've got a subtract x. Negative x is the same as subtract x. The opposite of subtraction is addition. So I'm going to go ahead and add x to both sides. So I have -2 equals 7x plus 12. Okay. And then I've got to get this x alone, and it's added to the 12. The opposite of addition is subtraction, so I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. So I have 2 minus 12, so I'm 2 degrees below 0, and it gets 12 degrees colder. It gets 12 degrees more below 0. And so that's negative 14 equals 7x. Once again, I'm out of room. So I'm going to come over here. Negative 14 equals 7x. I've got a 7 multiplied by the x. The opposite of multiplication is division. So if I want to get rid of a 7 that's multiplied by the x, I have got to divide it away. So negative 14 divided by 7 is negative 2. Because 14 divided by 7 is 2, and I've got a negative divided by a positive, which is a negative, and then these 7s just go away, and I'm left with x. So x is negative 2. Yay! So hopefully this gives you a really good start on these things. I know they take time. I know that they're a process, but I also know that you can do them. Good luck, and please, please, please let me know if you have any questions.